is a huge pleasure to honor the groundbreaking work of Stephen Chase and Robert Fife of the Globe and Mail tonight. I think it's fair to say that after their truly earth-shattering investigation into foreign interference in Canada, this country will never be the same. Chase and Fife's report on February 17, 2023, shook this country to the core. Their headline read, "CSIS documents revealed Chinese strategy to influence 2021 election." It came as the result of an unprecedented national security leak. High-level sources, including within CSIS itself, debriefed and passed top-secret documents to these two reporters. They pointed to a sophisticated plan by the Chinese government to undermine primarily conservative candidates critical of China and to influence the last federal election toward what it determined to be a more Chinese-friendly liberal minority. The candidates targeted by Chinese operatives included former conservative leader Erin O'Toole and conservative member of parliament Michael Chong. Both had called for Canada to declare China's treatment of its Uyghur minority a genocide, to ban Huawei technology from our 5G networks, and for the creation of a registry of foreign agents in Canada. Also targeted was BC NDP MP Jenny Kwan. She is an outspoken critic of Beijing's crackdown on opposition and dissent in Hong Kong. The secret documents disclosed how PRC agents or their proxies directed devious disinformation campaigns on social media against all these candidates and covertly provided illegal funding and other assistance to their opponents. Other reports pointed to a similar campaign in the 2019 federal election. One of the Globe and Mail's confidential sources, incredibly, wrote publicly about why they chose, at great personal risk, to share this information with Robert Fife and Stephen Chase. They explained that CSIS considers these actions to be a great strategic threat to our national security, and that senior public officials in government were simply ignoring it. Even during the election campaign, targeted candidates were not informed of active meddling against them. Michael Chong was not even told that a Chinese diplomat in Ottawa was gathering information about his family members in Hong Kong. For months, our Prime Minister diminished, dismissed, deflected, and distracted from the growing list of revelations in the Globe and Mail newspaper. But Robert Fife and Stephen Chase kept working the story, and the wall started to fall. That Chinese diplomat was expelled from Canada. David Johnston, a friend of the Trudeaus, was appointed special rapporteur. Both he and his report were seen widely as an attempt to whitewash the entire situation. But by September of last year, the sheer volume of evidence and the public outcry forced the Liberal government to call a full public inquiry on election interference. That inquiry is taking place right now. As a further measure of Chase and Fife's abilities and ambition, they sought out Chinese meddling in other public and private institutions. They reported that influential billionaire and Communist Party official Bin Jiang attempted to influence Justin Trudeau himself with six-figure donations to the Trudeau Foundation and to his late father's old law school in Montreal. Other stories highlighted the dangers of Chinese scientists gaining access to and potentially transferring critical technology from Canadian universities to the Chinese military. The Globe also reported on a CSIS investigation into 3 founding investors in Wealth One Bank of Canada who had close ties to the Chinese government. That prompted Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland to take the extraordinary step of forcing their ouster from the bank. So, Canadians have now been awakened from their reverie that we are somehow immune from these harsh geopolitical realities. The Foreign Interference Commission, spawned by the Globe's investigation, is already showing the depth and scope of the crimes and the cover-up. There is a new revelation out of Ottawa almost every day. Most recently, the claim by Erin O'Toole that China's interference cost his party as many as 9 seats in the 2021 election. The reckoning has begun, and it's not just with China. Russia, India, Iran, and other foreign actors are also intent on tipping the world to their favor. It's anyone's guess what they will do to try to accomplish that. Confronting this challenge to our elections, our democracy, our values, and our way of life is a daunting task. The political and economic consequences of doing so are real and significant. But one thing is clear: ignoring it is no longer an option. Stephen Chase, Robert Fife, you have done a great service to this country. Your reporting embodies the very essence of the Hillman Foundation's notion of the common good, and the world is better for it. We are thrilled to be awarding you the 2024 Canadian Hillman Prize for Print and Digital Journalism. Congratulations.
I'll just make a couple of points and then turn it over to Bob. I want to thank the Hillman Foundation for their support for journalism. I also couldn't help noticing that Sidney Hillman comes from a place that is now in Lithuania, where my mother came from. She's an immigrant. She fled Soviet rule to come to Canada. And I think one of the things about this story that I want to leave you with is that often the victims of foreign interference in Canada are people who fled other countries to come here for a new life. People from China, people from parts of China, Xinjiang, people from Hong Kong, people from Taiwan, people from Tibet, and of course people from Russia and Ukraine, Tehran, and so on. They are the victims. They are often the targets. Foreign interference is many things. It's clandestine, it's coercive. It's not when Barack Obama tweets that he supports Justin Trudeau that is overt and above board. It's often the people who are targeted are, in fact, people who have ties to those countries. It's no coincidence that Michael Chong, the foreign affairs critic, was targeted by a Chinese diplomat, or that Jenny Kwan finds herself shunned and uninvited to Lunar New Year events and the openings of museums in her own riding by community groups who no longer want to be seen with her. So we're doing a terrible job of protecting people who come to this country, and we have to do a better job. Secondly, this was very difficult work. It involved passing on intelligence. It was given to us by men and women who risked their careers to do so, and they felt that it was necessary for Canadians to know about it. This required extraordinary support at the Globe and Mail, and I want to thank former publisher Philip Crawley and editor-in-chief David Walmsley and Deputy Editor Sinclair Stewart for the incredible work they did to help us get these stories out. And I'll just turn it over to Bob now.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the other recipients for their great work and the honor of receiving this prestigious award. You know, when we were doing these stories, it sometimes felt like we were in a spy movie because, believe it or not, we were holding conversations in phone booths. There are phone booths still around, believe it or not, meeting people in underground parking lots. And the reason for this was what Steve had said, is that people in the national security environment felt that the government was ignoring a very serious threat to our Canadian democracy, and they felt, and this is highly unusual with these kind of people to come forward and to talk to us and to provide us with classified documents that showed the extent of Chinese interference in our democracy at various levels, and they have risked jail time. If they get caught, they're going to jail. And we've tried to do everything we can to protect them, but we really want to thank them. Secondly of all, I just want to thank, there were many people in the national security environment who disagreed with our reporting, initially anyway, but still we reached out to them because we wanted to make sure that we were very careful with the intelligence we had, so that we weren't exposing information that could endanger national security and certainly the reputations of certain people. And I really am grateful to them. And many of these people, by the way, at the end of the later were able to say that, you know, I disagreed with, and I don't agree with the leaking of classified information, but We're really glad that you did this. This was a service for the country to get a public inquiry going so that people can understand the extent of this interference in Canadian democracy. And finally, I want to talk about what Steve also mentioned is our job as journalists is to speak for the dispossessed and the people who have been endangered by foreign interference are the diaspora communities. And I feel very strongly that we spoke for them, and they were enormously grateful that we were able to do this kind of reporting. And I hope at the end of the day, when we finally, the public inquiry is concluded, that we will have recommendations that will protect our democracy, but more significantly protect these people from governments, authoritarian governments, who think that they can push these people around. And anyway, thank you very much. And if you see Steve and I running out, it's because we've got to get a plane tonight because the public inquiry is going on tomorrow.